Hey classmates, it's Adam. I wanted to just share one more technique. I had a lot of people in the past ask about the sunburst that I do. So I thought in the spirit of sharing techniques, and after the response from the last video, I thought why not one more technique for making a lens flare, as we might call it, or just sunlight, to add a little different detail to painting. So I did a little underpainting here, and I'm really showing how this is just plain old white in the middle here, white paper coming through. And then I built up just a kind of a gradient and surround around that. So this is demonstrating how to keep the whitest, the brightest bright of the painting, again, like I mentioned in the last video, is the white of the paper coming through. So this white, once the tape is off, matches this white around the border. And then everything else around it, make it darker, and that will really make that white pop. And then the other part of this technique is my filbert brush. Thank you for the identification, the IDs. A couple of people mentioned those in the last video. So this is looks like a filbert brush. And I have some clean toilet paper. I think Scott uses tissue paper, which I think this works just as well. So I've got just some plain water, some clean water, and a simple process. And I think I've described this before. And what I do first is, from the white area out, I turn. I clean, fresh water, try to find it again, I turn, paint with the water, pull out some paint. And then this time you can kind of start to see it really on the camera. I can't see it that well. Boom, hit it with the dry paper towel. And then you want to match it on this side. Hit it with the dry paper towel again. I like it to have more of a point on the flare. I'm just going to take a little bit more there. Make sure I did a double check here. I do a little bit of a damp spot after flicking the water off from the jar to make sure I'm not picking up pigment along the way. There we go. There's a little more obvious one. And then tend to do these things. Try to leave some room for regularity, some room for nice things to happen. But I try to go exactly the opposite of one that I've already put down. You can start to see it come through. I did for a while not use any of the toilet paper, and I found actually get a little bit better result with it. So you can see it coming through here. If you want a little more of a point, you'd use the side of the filbert. Oops, bumped my camera. Sorry, again, I don't have a good setup, but I'm doing my best. There we go. So this is how you can plug in a nice lens flare on these paintings if you guys want to try one. This is how I do it. There we go, now it's starting to come together. So you can play with this however you want to do it, but again, it's just fresh water. Make sure I'm starting to pick up pigment on this, so I need to turn it. Find another clean spot, try not to waste. Let's get rid of some more paint down this side. Whoop. There we go. Irregular is good. Just try to match it on the other side with what you've got already. Take a couple passes. That was a nice one. All right. And you can start to see those come through. And if you need a bigger area moved out, that will really enhance this light. Just make sure to match it on the other side. And if you get off, if you get misaligned and you only want to do a couple of these strokes, you can kind of see it. So I'm looking for any misalignments now. We've got one running through nicely here, got another one running through nicely there. Some accompanying that one. Got a kind of crossed in the middle for the demonstration. So I got a little bit of pigment here in the middle. And it's a little harder to see on the camera, but gotten used to tilting the blade to make waves. But instead of tilting the blade, if you keep it flat on the paper, you can pull up texture that way. See, you've got a little pile of paper started here. And if you go in a bit of a circle, you can kind of start to pull up some of that pigment that got there by mistake. And there's a starburst, or a sun flare, or a lens flare, whatever you want to call it. That's how I do it. Hope it helps.